get a bit more right now on Decision 2020, everyone. Democrats wrapped up one for the history books. The first virtual nominating convention, complete with roll calls from around the country. Speeches were there to fire up the base, and then the fireworks in Delaware on Thursday night after the official nominations. Among the many agenda items was the Black Lives Matter movement.
There is no vaccine for racism. We've got to do the work. For George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for the lives of too many others to name, for our children.
Maybe George Floyd murder was a breaking point. Maybe John Lewis is passing the inspiration. But however it's come to be, however it's happened, America's ready, in John's words, to lay down, quote, the heavy burden of state at last, and to end the hard work of rooting out our systemic racism.
There is a new report in Politico today, though, and it suggests that some activists see all of this as mostly lip service. So joining me now to discuss, Roland Martin, host and managing editor of Unfiltered, and that he is, let me guarantee you, if you haven't read Roland before. Also, Aaron Haynes, editor-at-large with The 19th and an MSNBC contributor. Welcome to you both. Okay, we'll go with you first here, Aaron. Do Democrats still need, as reported in Politico, to close the gap between symbolism and substance? And what do you think it'll take to do that?
Well, Alex, I think that you're going to see activists continuing to push the Democratic Party on these issues. Listen, the Black Lives Matter movement has undergone a political evolution in the 6 years since it began in earnest. And that evolution is not exactly parallel to kind of where the Democratic Party or even where the country is, but their ideas and agenda have increasingly become part of the mainstream conversation about what is possible in American politics. And so, I think while the Biden-Harris ticket, if they are elected, could bring kind of a pendulum swing back to a conversation about criminal justice reform, right? You think back to, the Obama-Biden administration when consent decrees, were something that was being discussed, when investigations into policing were something that was still a thing. I mean, that has not been a conversation. That's been a non-starter in a Trump-Pence administration where they've really, you've seen, embraced law enforcement and really condemned protesters in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Let me focus on something specific with you, Roland. Do you get the sense that the DNC programming included adequate representation of young people, also, I guess, progressive voices?
Well, it didn't, but look, you got to understand, you were dealing with a virtual convention that was really only 2 hours. When you think about your traditional convention, it's a lot more time to put people on. So that is no shock there. But here's the deal. You can spend lots of time focusing on who didn't speak, who should have been there, what should the issues are. But the reality is, unless you are in power, none of this means anything. And so what you have to also understand is that when I think about history, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, 1964, Atlantic City, how they pushed the party for the inclusion of blacks in delegations like in Mississippi. They got it in 68. You think about Reverend Jackson running in 1984 and 1988. The issues that he was talking about when he ran all of a sudden came into the party's agenda and its platform. And so what is required for activists is to be that external force, moving on an internal force in order to be able to get what you want. I had Patrice Cullors on my show a few weeks ago when they introduced the Breathe Act. Look, they are going to have to be like Clarence Mitchell. Clarence Mitchell, of course, one of the books, Lying in the Lobby, he was called the 101st Senator. You have to be able to take your activism and then place it within lobbying, within pressure, within mobilizing and organizing once they are in power. But if they lose in November, you'd have no access to be able to get it done. They all go hand in hand.
Yeah, I want to pick up on mobilizing right there because, Aaron, there are some new reports saying that the president was caught on tape saying low turnout among black voters helped him in 2016. So can this become a problem similar to 2016? Do you fear that could happen for Biden and Harris in November?
Well, I know it's certainly something that campaign and the Democratic Party is concerned about. Look, you saw this on full display at the Democratic National Convention this week. the message to vote early, to make sure you have a plan, and to really run up the score so that the results of this election can be unimpeachable was something that was repeated over and over again. You heard House Speaker Nancy Pelosi just underscoring that message in her remarks. But I think, you know, the president's remarks in that report really affirm that part of, you know, his election strategy is not necessarily about increasing his already anemic turnout with black voters, but by continuing to convince them to just stay home if they don't want to vote for him, which to him, I guess, is apparently as good as support in the form of a ballot.
Yeah. Alex, yeah. It is just the same. So here's what has to happen if you're the Biden and Harris campaign, and that is you must be, when I say laser focused, that means you must be spending significant amounts of dollars on black media, reaching people who don't watch, let's be honest, MSNBC or CNN or read the New York Times. You must be ensuring that you are working with those grassroots organizations, folks who are on the ground. The problem is this here. You just had a virtual convention. You're about to have a virtual election. And so you're going to have to be connecting with people with email databases, with websites, with social media to reach those voters. Democrats, let's be real clear. They can chase the white woman in the suburbs all they want to. Democrats cannot win unless they turn out black people, black women and black men, Latinos, young voters. And so that has to be their focus. And so, look, you can keep chasing those suburban voters all you want to, but the numbers don't lie. Democrats have not won more than 40% of the white vote since 1964. So that's where your bread and butter is. You better spend money on them. You better talk to the issues and connect the dots. Otherwise, you can see a repeat of 2016.
We hear you loud and clear, Roland. Points well taken from both you and Aaron. You guys, thank you so much. A little shorter than usual just because of Nancy Pelosi's news conference there.